Time after time, you try to take this castle, but you will never succeed, Skeletor.
Call your champion.
What's up, you beautiful collectors and Masters of the Universe fans? It is the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, thanks to the absolutely incredible support of my Optibotimus Plus channel members, and even those of you that just hit that thumbs up button, we're going to be taking a look at the new Netflix Masters of the Universe Revelations Skelegod. And again, absolutely fantastic looking. For the package, very similar to what we saw like with Battle Cat, but obviously a little bit smaller. But you have that nice open window that fully showcases the figures as well as all of his accessories. Of course, you got the Masters of the Universe Revelations logo, Skelegod. You got the Netflix logo up there. It is part of the Masterverse, which is kind of their, I guess, line connecting all of these figures, like Origins, the original series, this. It's really curious. And Skelegod might be kind of a hint towards that, because the only other time that we got a God Skeletor was that original live action movie. So again, maybe bridging all of the different universes. Of course, you got Skelegod right there on the side. It says Cosmic Lord of Destruction. That's interesting. The other side here, gorgeous image of him. And then when you come around to the back, you get a larger image. You got other figures that are available. And it says Skeletor lives his life with a singular purpose: to control the ultimate powers of the entire universe. Time after time, the Bane of Eternia was thwarted by He-Man and the heroic warriors. What kind of monster would be unleashed should they be unable to stop the Lord of Destruction? Surely, a raging storm of horror and terror even the bravest dare not even imagine. And you can kind of see it. So it's like basically him getting the powers of Grayskull and just becoming super powerful, like that God Skeletor that we saw in that movie like I talked about. So I'm really curious to see how this plays into things. And again, we're still a month away from the show, so we gotta wait. But for a figure, this is looking really cool. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, and here we have Skelegod opened up and out of his packaging. And honestly, I am really blown away by this. Like I said, we really don't know how the whole God Skeletor thing is going to be utilized in the new series. I mean, it could be an actual transformation. It could be just like a what-if scenario kind of thing. But the figure for this guy, I think, really turned out great. Starting off first with his accessories, he does come with this little energy effect. I would imagine, I mean, you can kind of put it on with any of his hands. So you got like a open clutching sort of hand. You also have some fists right here. You can use it for either one. I think it works a little bit better with the fist, honestly, but I really do like this. It's just a almost glow in the dark. It doesn't glow in the dark. I thought at first it might. That would be cool if they did that, but it does have a very cool green look to it, which I dig. And then you do have that big giant open hole there. Like I said, you can use that with his regular hand. You can see it just slides on there very easily. If you use the fisted hands, it would work just as easily with it. So very, very cool. As I was showing, you do get a pair of fisted hands. The clutching hands are really nice, but these ones here work very well with the power sword. And again, we don't know the story behind this. Holds it perfectly fine. You can see it is a really familiar look for the power sword here in the new series. I really do like that. Now, the only one that I have really is the power sword here that came with He-Man from the Origins line. But you can see that shape-wise is very similar. Maybe this piece is a little bit shorter than this. I'm not actually sure what that would be considered. The handle here has a nice brown sort of strap effect to it. But then I also like the little silver. You can kind of see that on the edges has that nice silver element to it. But you can see that it does have a similar look, which is cool. Unfortunately, though, those are all of his accessories. We don't have his Havoc staff, so I don't know what the story is with that. But one thing that's worth noting, He kind of looks like the Havoc Staff just himself. I'm like, when you look at his head with the horns and everything, it kind of already looks like the Havoc Staff. That's weird. But the look on this guy is fantastic. They actually have a cloth cape here, which is really very cool. Honestly, was not expecting that. One of the problems, though, that I did have was this one is kind of folded up here, so you can see, if I get it to come out here, what's going on? You can see like a little bit of a fold right there. That's not terribly bad or anything. You actually have a, why is this like sticking on here? I don't know. This is almost like a felt material, so it is fairly sticky with everything. So that's kind of a weird thing, to be totally honest. But you got these little plastic bits here at the end, which does give some weight to them, allowing them to kind of drape. But you can see, for some reason, it wants to kind of grab that. So, like, see? I mean, it's weird how it's doing that, but I think that looks really cool. It does get some fuzzies on there, though. Like I said, it almost feels like it's a felt material, so it might be a magnet for that. But great armor. You can see that it has a pretty decent glossy look to it, but still has a very almost matte kind of look. I dig that. You got like little silver elements here. Again, this is a softer material, so I like that they're using some of those softer elements. But one thing that does happen is these bits here do tend to get warped out of the package. So much like that was kind of folded up, that was pushed a little bit. I probably could heat that up and get that to be more straight, but it is what it is. Nice green accents on there. You can see that throughout the entire thing, because this is meant to replicate him getting powered up. So you have that green element, much like this, around his neck, like the energy is just pouring from his head, which I think looks good. Some people have complained about it because it does kind of make his neck look like it sits up a little bit higher. It doesn't bother me really all that much, and I'll talk about the head size in future reviews, because people are looking at the heads of these new figures and kind of criticizing them because they make them, they say it makes the heads look a little bit small compared to the body and everything, but we'll touch on all that here in a bit, because I don't think this one really has that going for it. I think it looks fine. He does look like he has a little bit longer of a neck, but like I said, it doesn't bother me by any stretch of the imagination. Great detail here with his little cod piece, I guess. I mean, you can kind of see where like this looks like fur, but the rest is a nice armor. You got like face elements there. I like one. That's one thing. There's a lot of face bits. Like you look at his arm gauntlets here. It looks kind of like Hordak, honestly. When you take a look at that, that's kind of cool. But you got that the head looking thing. This kind of looks like a head, like with eyes right there. So it's like that's the front of his head. So you got a head right there. You got head pieces down here. Lots of heads all over this guy, but nice gray paint. You got some blue in there. Really, overall, very, very nice. The only part aesthetically that I don't like are his feet. Those look really big, and to get him to stand pretty decently, you got to have them fairly straight, and it makes the ankles look weird. It looks a little bit better when you go like that, but then you're having to compensate by like bending his knees and everything, and offsetting things. Like that looks a lot better than that, in my opinion. But either way, his feet are really big, freakishly so. I mean, he kind of looks like a freak anyhow. So I mean, I guess it is what it is. Now you can pop his head off. All of this stuff can actually remove from him, which is nice. You can, let's see, let's wiggle this out. All of it is soft, so it comes off fairly easily. That comes off. This whole section here will remove, and you can see you got this section up here that's actually painted green. This looks like it would remove. You got little clip sections here, but when you have that on there like that, I kind of dig that, because that green element on there bleeds through with it, so it works pretty decently. But you can see all that can come off. These, you're going to pull this off, and you would put this there. If you wanted to remove that, that can slide off. Put that there. I know somebody's going to ask, and let me. I don't have any other classics figures other than He-Man. So the peg looks. It looks like it's the exact same. Yeah, it's the exact same. So you could do that if you wanted to, and conversely, if you wanted to do that, you could then do that. If you wanted to swap these out, I don't have the classics or the Origin Skeletor here to show that with, but obviously you can do that because, like I said, the peg is the same. This piece right here, how this attaches is you got like little hooks right here. I don't feel like those are magnets. I think they're just pinned in there, but you just take this, that's going to hook down and sits right there, and then you take this and you put this over all this armor and just push that down. There we go. So just kind of wiggle that down, and that kind of slid up. So again, just kind of take this, hook that on. It's going to sit there perfectly fine. Just kind of push that all the way down so that it fits along that back decently. And then we're going to take this head and put his head. But, I mean, that totally looks like his Havoc staff. I mean, and the head sculpt on there is fantastic. That's really cool. And then you just plug that right back on there. And that's back to normal. So, really very, very nice. Articulation-wise, as you can see, the head is on a ball joint, so you get a good range of motion there. The shoulders are on pin hinge joints, so you can move them forward and back. These bits here, like I said, they are softer rubber, so they kind of get out of the way when you move things around. So it's not too restrictive, honestly. And then you can hinge them in and out. You can rotate them at the upper part of the bicep. He does have two bends at the elbow. Wrists do rotate 360 degrees, and then they do have the hinge. You have an upper diaphragm. I want to say ball joint there because it feels like you get a full ball joint sort of thing going on. And then you do have a waist swivel. The legs here are on those pin hinge joints, or are they ball joints? Kind of hard to tell. Either way, they move forward and back, in and out, all that kicking motion. Rotation at the upper part of the thigh. You do have two bends here at the knee itself. The boot does rotate, and then the ankles do move forward and back, and then they also do a hacky sack style pose. So lots of articulation. I think it says that like there's 30 points of articulation, which definitely is the case. But for another comparison, I mean, obviously you could see how he stacks up with He-Man from the Origins line. Big difference in terms of the size there. For another Classics figure, I just have to do this because this is the only one that I have out here is Hordak. But you can see that he's actually taller than Hordak, which kind of surprised me because I thought that they were going to be mostly this size, but as you can see, they are bigger than the Classics figures, which is nice. And then for another comparison, because this is the only other God Skeletor that we've gotten, here's the one that Super 7 did. But you can see that obviously he gets a little bit taller because his little horn pieces up there kind of go up there. But here are your God Skeletor comparisons with He-Man, who's looking like he does not stand much of a chance right now. When you take Hordak, God Skeletor, and Skelegod, sorry He-Man, I don't think you're going to survive this, my friend. But really great look to these. I am absolutely loving the size of them. And it's curious that we've gotten Skelegod as well as Battle Cat seemingly released a little bit early for the most part. I don't know the actual launch date on these, but it does seem a little bit early. But, I mean, hey, we are still about a month away, so it makes sense. I guess we'd be getting them. But this guy turned out great. I cannot recommend him enough. If you are a Masters of the Universe fan, he is very cool looking. Granted, as I said, we don't know the extent of him in this form as it'll be in the new Revelations series. But time will tell, and either way, I think he's a great looking figure. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Once again, I want to send a huge shout out to all of my Optibotimus Plus channel members, who through their direct support continue to help making reviews like this possible. And if you'd like to help out by contributing and becoming a channel member, where you get exclusive channel chat and comment emojis, loyalty badges, exclusive member unboxing videos, live streams, Zoom calls, access to the Optibotimus Plus Discord, as well as the occasional giveaways like these guys do, then consider becoming a member of Optibotimus Plus. And for that, all you have to do is click on that little join button right down there. And finally, remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you for watching and taking the time to be a kid.